was interested in doing something that had a structure, that had a theme running through it. And I had several in mind, actually, and one of them was the Seven Deadly Sins. And I wasn't sure about it at first because it's obviously been done. But then that's what's interesting about it too, in a way, because when different people interpret a sort of timeless theme in different ways, I think that's very interesting. Gluttony, it's actually hard to even think of it as a sin. But like most of the other ones, it becomes a sin when it's indulged into excess, or it sort of becomes an obsession that messes up other parts of your life.
Let it rain, let it hail, let it rain, frogs and toads, but just bring us some ale, we'll have 10 for the road. Let it blow, let it roar, let it rain, bats from hell, wipe their asses and pluck 'em, we'll eat them as well.
I built this very busy fugue, which just becomes almost excruciatingly full of notes. And it's supposed to represent excess.
All you need is a real girl guide. Give it up and come inside. Take the leash.
I thought it would be nice to have two women's voices representing this sort of virgin and whore contradiction.
Bite the peach, suck the juice.
So one is Dawn Upshaw, who represents a celestial virgin. And the other part is Suzanne Vega, who's basically a hooker and saying these ridiculous sort of come-on lines like,
"Hey, sailor, how's the steam in the stovepipe?" Your delivery was utterly convincing.
Because I had the idea that it would all consist of things that had actually been said by hookers, you know?
Right.
But it turns out that they only say things like, "Hey, you want to date?" You know, I mean, it's not very interesting.
You want to go out, yeah.
An old tea bag. Maybe he's gonna sell it. How much you think he'll get?
it's a scenario where every person has been reduced to whatever they have to sell or to trade. So that's what they become in a way. I mean, this person is a can of oil. You know, another person is 3 eggs. Writing about avarice or greed was the most difficult thing for me on this record, actually. It was the sin that I least identified with. So this one is pretty grim. I mean, I think a lot of this record has a lot of humor in it. This one doesn't particularly, except in the blackest possible sense. People say, well, why is sloth a sin? What's wrong with just being a slob in front of the TV? But there's nothing wrong with that. But to me, it's much more insidious than that. It's every time you hear someone say, hey, it's not my problem, or why bother? You know, or hey, man, lighten up. You know, like nothing's worth getting excited about. That's very much the sin of sloth, and it's extremely prevalent in the modern world, I think.
Give me a bud and a slice. Leave me alone. If I want your advice, I'll ask you.
I think with Brad Roberts, we had to work on it quite a bit because I wanted a sort of deep, world-weary kind of voice. I mean, the word that kept coming into my mind was lugubrious. I wanted a lugubrious voice, and you know, Brad is Mr. Lugubrious, basically. Because rock and roll is very good at expressing anger. I mean, it has a rather limited emotional range, I think, in a lot of ways, but it's very good at anger. So I wanted 2 drummers just thrashing away like maniacs, like gladiators, you know, competing with each other. There were a couple of different thoughts I had about anger. One was the idea of it being a childish sin. I mean, it starts off with this sort of out-of-tune piano and then wrong notes and then someone just bashing the keyboard with their fists like kids do. So it's very much about that sort of childish temper tantrum.
They don't write them like that anymore, you know.
In the middle of the song, the scene sort of changes and we're suddenly in the middle of Times Square with traffic just roaring over our heads and everything is overwhelming. It's like the cars are angry, the lights are angry, the whole world is angry. And in the middle of that, you have this guy playing these plastic buckets on the street, Jared Crawford, who's a guy that he was discovered actually, and he's on Broadway now in Bring in the Noise, Bring in the Funk. But we managed to get him to play the buckets, and we actually recorded him right in the middle of Times Square. When someone envies you, there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do that's ever right, it's ever good enough. You know, anything you say is going to be twisted or resented or something.
Dear sister, I try to share with you.
I had this idea of sisters, envy between sisters, partly based on the old story of Cinderella. It's from the point of view of the envied rather than the envier. You simply have to walk away from it. I mean, that's what happens in the song. I mean, she starts off saying, I'm trying all these things, I don't mean any harm, you know, I want to be your friend, etc., but nothing works. She's just rejected all the way down the line. And in the end she says, you broke the bridge on your side and I'm just walking away. See, my idea of the 7 deadly sins is that they can all lead to either heaven or hell, that they have dark and light sides. And we have all 7. We all have all 7 of them inside us, and we all have heaven and hell inside us as well. This is probably the first record that I actually did research on. I mean, it's really been a process of about 2 or 3 years. So it took quite a long time. There was a point actually where I almost didn't care whether I wrote any music or not, because the actual process was so interesting. It really made me question a lot of things about what I believed.